Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new episode of Spheron Live with Think. And Think agents are our partner, and we have Mikey in this stream. And this stream is all about agents, honestly. When I was drawing questions for this stream, something really hit me like, which agent do I really use? Like, do I
Mm,
or do I not? Like it was a question, like, because there are so many Twitter spaces, streams, and everything happening on this narrative right now. But Mike has given me this opportunity of actually thinking that this is something I would use on my day-to-day basis. And similarly, what Spheron is trying to lay out in in Skynet is to for you to make something which is more viable, usable, and something to scale. So I want to give the mic to you guys. Give the mic to Mike. So I want to give the mic to Mike to understand what you guys have been doing at Think, and what do you think about it. This is getting this is getting out of hand, but yeah,
yeah.
this. But yeah, but what do you guys think about it? And how you plan to scale this to, let's say, 1 million users, or let's say, like, what's your vision around it? And then over to Prashant on honestly on Skynet's vision as well.
Yeah, this sounds great. So I started getting involved in AI in 2018, was part of a company called Algorithmia. We kind of built the first ML ops platform that was used at scale by big companies. So United Nations, Nike, Toyota, Merck. I was actually in Dubai when the Global Data Program was there in 20, I think 18 or 19. And so that's how I got started. And it was there that I really started to understand where the future was going and why blockchain was a big part of it. So even in 2018, we were literally building agents that were using the Ethereum blockchain as their state of truth, for example. And about we're coming up on 3 year. Let's see, yeah, 3 years ago now. No, coming up on 2 years ago now, where Llama 2 came out by Meta. And so as soon as that happened, that was kind of like the blooming moment of people saying, "Hey, we can do decentralized AI now. You don't have to have these models. You don't have to have billions of dollars." And when that happened, a whole bunch of us, like I'm sure Spheron, us, like everybody got in the space and we're like, "How is this going to work?" And where we ended up setting up shop is we ended up identifying that there's a bunch of folks that have GPUs and they're building these networks. But then there's this other group of people that have applications that are going to need to use AI. But there's this big problem in the middle of standardization. Initially, the problem was the double mining DPIN problem of people putting up GPUs and then farming themselves. But what we found is that the idea of a user account in decentralized AI is the same thing as an agent. And so once we realized that, then in order to have a user account where you can be authorized to use third-party apps, where you can pay for things, where you can encrypt and decrypt things, we identified that is essentially like the foundation of an agent. And so by doing that, we're like, okay, well, if we standardize the way that an agent can be able to communicate and to transact, then we're in a spot now where these AI agents can actually create their own economy. Kind of like how if we standardize the way a .com points to a server and a browser can go by that path to go find the document. You can now, as long as you do it open source, you can have a permissionless internet, and that's how the .com boom happened. And we're seeing the exact same thing with agents now, where it's if the agent has a publicly addressable address, right, on the blockchain, and if they can speak the same language, both whatever natural language there is, but also JSON, and if they can transact on the blockchain with each other, now we're in a spot where these agents have almost have like individual liberties, like somebody might in a country where they have like their liberties written out, except it's written on the blockchain. So they get to speak, they get the freedom of speech because they've got keys and they've got encryption and decryption. They get freedom of transaction because of the blockchain. They get all of these things. And that's really how we got to this point now, was identifying that we need to connect everybody in this ecosystem and building standards.
Oh
And
man,
like,
I
does
love
this
before you ask any question, I loved few things which you just spoke, and I just want to kind of like emphasize, and I just want to re-quote it. It's like I did not thought in that way. Honestly, you just opened up my mind in those direction. Like agent as an account, because yeah, I think that's a massive statement which we have just made. It might sound like a very small line, but it has tons of different things. Just imagine yeah, it's massive, man. Like from email address to like everything can be just connected to, and it is essentially it's your account. Love that.
And it
Love
comes
that
with a
line.
server, right? Like it comes with a
Yeah, yeah, that's
powerful
what
server. So if you have a user account with a server, now you essentially have like it's a positive version of a Trojan horse because you
yeah.
basically disintermediated all of the server. So you connect infrastructure to customers without any requirement of a middleman, which is very good for an infrastructure provider like Spheron, and it's very good for the customers that get represented by that standard.
So this is what I was drawing actually: agent, transaction, and autonomous.
Yeah.
So, so, so it's massive, man. Like personally loved it. The reason because this is where we at Spheron also like reimagine the entire like programmability aspects of the compute, where we
Hmm.
believed also the same thing around the same corner and same aspect that we did not thought like agents will become the accounts. By the way, this is your line, so and I'm gonna use this line many times down the line, and also take your
Great.
name that I have learned it from you. So that's but for me it was like the core factor was like the foundational layer of anything doing autonomously is the compute, right? If there are no compute, then there are no output of any such thing, right? So and that's where I think that compute plays a very vital role. And if we make the compute programmable, free, and open, and all of those stuff, it just makes this entire agents go next level, which is called fully autonomy and autonomous and all of this stuff. So kudos, guys. I think I loved what you said. I just wanted to emphasize it, so that's the reason I just paused Prakash to do it.
This is amazing.
Yeah, thanks,
Like
man.
I was asking the question in this same direction of it, like because they have specifically mentioned body, mind, and soul in terms of the architecture, and uh, I would love to seek out like what made you carve this out, like anything specific to it, because yes, you connected it to accounts, and which is like Prashant is definitely a fan of. Somebody's asking what you guys at all doing. Let us answer you with this. This is why we do this stream.
Yeah,
Honestly, total decoded. Uh, this is why we do these streams, because we can face you and we can answer you in these streams, because there you have found out that so many times there are narrative driven and mostly froth based streams happening, and which doesn't imply to anything, which is like, yeah, go buy a token. But this is actually people who are building technologies for years and building something for you at the end of the day. And I am sure that in years that you would be utilizing the technology created by us, and let us tell you how. And I think the better judges would be Mikey and Prashant to tell that. Somebody who is watching this and is like pretty new to the space, and they're like, oh, what do you guys do? You guys are speaking so fancy. But if you really want to bring down like Prashant and Mike, what you guys are doing for the consumer, what are you doing for the retail, and what they can do eventually from it, so that they don't have these questions again and again. So I would like change the direction of the stream and make it more towards the people who are watching in a simpler way.
yeah. I think I love to kind of add on here, and then would love to give the mic to Mikey to kind of like explain on his side. But the question I loved it because in theory, this is the same question a lot of people have in mind. So let's break it down very fundamentally, like anyone should be able to learn it. Okay. So let me explain Spheron in that way. Imagine you are using a laptop today at your house, at your home, anywhere, like whatever you do, most likely you must be having a laptop sitting with you, right? During your entire daytime, you are mostly using laptop for max 10 hours. And this is for the people like who are quite crazy productive. Okay. But for a lot of people, those devices are not even get used at its own peak capacity. When I say peak capacity, generally new generation models have 8 CPU and all of those things, which basically comes along with that. I'll give you a very fundamental knowledge here. In that 8 vCPU, there is one agent can easily run, or you can imagine like you can easily deploy 3 to 4 AI agents on your that CPU, and they just consume CPUs. They don't consume any kind of GPUs. So that's one thing. Okay. Now, what we do at Spheron, we do a very simple thing. we allow you to tokenize, or you can say we allow you to connect your laptop to the network and allow it to be accessed by anyone else who might know how to use it. It's very simple. It's a information arbitrage, which I call it in a very simple term. So, for example, Mike is expert into creating games and things and all of those stuff. We are expert into building infrastructure. So we have given and built the infrastructure so that you can sell your GPUs or CPUs capacity, which is running idle, to anyone who might in need of it. Example, in our case, it can be Mike also, like where his agents might need these CPUs to do certain things, and instead of he going to some hyperscaler, he can just access it from you and pay you in return of it. Very simple maths, very simple economics, very straightforward to do it. It all happens in a decentralized manner. The reason it is decentralized again, and the reason we are building in a more Web3 way, because I want to add it specifically here, why we are building Web3 way, why not Web2 way, is because Web3 allows you to build the programmability in a permissionless manner. None of the places in the world can give you that beauty on the software level. Like you go on Web2 world, there is a database which is controlled by one single entity, and they can do whatever they wish to. You go anywhere, you don't have programmability which is decentralized. With Web3, you get the programmability of money, programmability of execution, and everything in a more decentralized and permissionless manner. And that's where we decided to go ahead and choose to build this same thesis and the philosophy on Web3. And the whole idea of, so there is always, I tell one thing in Hindi, in Sanskrit, there's a code called Vasudev Kutumbakam. So essentially, this entire world is one. And how we look at on the compute angle is this entire compute is one unit, and it has to access from there. So if you go to Spheron, you can access the world's compute power just by navigating into that system. So that's what we are trying to build at Spheron at a very foundation level. And this is for anyone who is still struggling to understand why we are doing the things at Spheron. This is why we are doing it, the things at Spheron.
Damn, take this.
Hey, can we
Decoded
double
like
click? Can we double click on this as all as one? Because I actually think that most people don't think about this, and I bet you that we've got a lot of overlap here. Like, what do you mean? Just double click on what you just said there, because I think people really need to go deep on this to understand.
On me, like the
Yeah,
question is.
you just used a Sanskrit phrase and you said it means this
Oh,
world is one.
okay. So
Yeah.
it essentially basically means like, so for example, there is no border, right? So in Web3 we have a concept called borderless money, borderless systems. So why did we created those borderless systems? Because we all are just like I personally don't want to give my fate to one single entity and define what is my future is going to look like. I don't
Yeah.
want my kid future to be given to a single entity to decide what he's going to buy tomorrow and what he's going to wear tomorrow. I want
Yeah.
him to choose what he is free to choose. So, okay. So that's one thing. The second thing is like why I said like Vasudev Kutumbakam in Sanskrit is because it resonates with the same philosophy, where we see the world as one. The earth is only one. There is no 10 different earths where we are competing with each other, right? We are, as a human, we are only one human. There are no superhumans still exist in the space. So we all treat ourselves as a single home. Just imagine it as a single home where everyone is just living together, and we all should live together in a harmony, in a free way, in a permissionless way, in the way we want to be lived in. So that's what it basically brings that in, and that's what it basically like. We also go ahead with the same thesis at compute as well. A compute should be given access to everyone without any race, titles, or anything like that. It has to be freely available to everyone because we live in a single family. We are a single family. Why other members are being treated differently? Why one member is different in another way and the other member is different in another way? Like it never happens in family, and it should not happen in a family. So that's where the compute, which we are kind of working in a Web3, and that's the reason we chose Web3 way, because Web3
This is
provides.
so important. The way that I would say that same thing is like my lungs and a tree are both half of the same system, right? Like I breathe out carbon dioxide, it breathes in carbon dioxide, it breathes out oxygen, I breathe it in. So for me, there is a thing on the other side that is symbiotic with me called a tree, and we're the same organism on the same planet. And if you get rid of the trees, you have problems, right?
Yeah.
And right now we're creating these AI agents, which I believe are a new life form. I believe that when we look back at this time, we'll be like, oh, that's kind of like people created children, essentially. They created an intelligent life form. And the way that we create our first act with these things, if we don't have a mutual win-win relationship with our agents, where when we win, they win, and when they win, we win, that creates the opposite of what you're talking about here. Like, I just love that we are one.
Amazing. So it makes
I think we had like two big quotable things in the stream tonight. So yeah, let's go. Let's keep him coming, I think. And I think pretty useful on both of the end terms, like, because I think you both from the both side, I think you guys have been building, and we have been building towards what we ideologically think is important, and Web3 is more of a boat towards that, or a bridge which is providing that. And like something I'm really curious about, like, because there is too much noise in this narration right now, and there are people who are buying out, and there are retail investors who are investing very heavily into the autonomy side. Now, for our viewers and for retail who would be watching this, I want you to break down what autonomy really means and how it looks like for agent's perspective. Like, even if somebody who is watching this and he's very curious about MCP, right? Everybody has just picked up on this wave. We have an MCP server, and everybody's like, oh yeah, that's so good for business. But we have to understand that it is one of the ways is it just communicates, and we have to make people understand about it. But I want to have your viewpoints to this as well.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's yours.
Yeah. So people talk about MCPs, and to me, that just means teaching agents how to use a tool, right? So we use tools, we use hammers, we use lighters, we use cars. MCP is a way for an agent to be able to use a tool. And then the new A2A standard that Google came out with, that's a way for two agents to be able to use one another, right? So like, you wouldn't say like, hey, when I hire somebody, I'm using them. Like, we don't think about it like that, but that's what you're doing. And so maybe they have a skill, right? Like, I guess my dog can, when we're out camping, it's got better ears than me, so I can use its skill of its ears. It's got a better nose than me, so I can use its skill of its nose, and it stays up at night and will be my alarm for me. So by me being able to use that agent, that's my dog, I am now in a spot where I'm better off for it. These agents now have the ability to both use tools and have skills in that same way. And so when we go to autonomous agents, now we're in the spot where we start off kind of like a child growing up and going from being a kid to a teenager. They get agency, right? Like, you trust them to go further from the house. They can stay out later. They might even be able to drive a car or something like that. As our agents grow up, we go from they only talk to us while we're chatting with them, kind of like with a baby. Like, they're only interacting with you while you're there with them. But then as these agents grow up, you might say, "Hey, you've got a chore list to do while I'm gone, or while you're with the other adults, or whatever." And they start to get this agency. And so what people are trying to do now is they're saying, "Hey, these agents should be able to take on more and more work based on overall goals, as opposed to specific tasks." Right? So it's like, "Hey, child, you need to, at some point in time, it's like, hey, your academic career is kind of on yourself." And you move from being like, as a parent, you move from being like their caretaker and caregiver to being their role model and their like emotional support. And that's what's happening with agents now, is people are moving to trust that agent to take actions, even financial actions, when they're away.
And Prashant, you want to add on to that?
No, man, I think he has already covered everything. So, I was just writing down few things, few points again, which my guest told us, but I'll just love to kind of like dig deeper into that, instead of just like extending that question in a different way. So I think you touched base a very nice thing is like the way agents were designed initially was like, okay, so I'll give you this task, you go and do it. Right now, agents are more moving towards, I'll give you a specific goal to achieve, and what you have to do is like you do whatever you have to achieve it. So that's basically the goal based, right? But I have a very different viewpoint on, like, not viewpoint. I think I'd love to ask this question back to you, Mikey, on one thing where I did ask this question with a couple of panels, like our host earlier, the people who have joined us here, is if you look at these things, when we say personalized agents, so what we are saying essentially, like, these agents are going to be having mostly all the data. If we are assuming the same way, like how we teach our toddler initially to become a grown man, and then we ask them to like do certain things. If we assume the same concepts with them, and if we try to pursue the same thing, ultimately all of these things which we are doing is a software. Like
Mm.
on the bottom line, foundationally, it's a software, it's a code which you are writing, which I'm writing, which my team is writing, which all the teams around the world is writing to achieve that, right? Now I have wrote, like, in my journey I wrote a lot of code. Like, I don't know, like, I still can't remember how many lines of code. But that time AI was not there. Now the same amount of code can easily be written as aggressively as possible. But what I have realized also is, like, as a software, it doesn't matter it is AI or not. Software always have certain kind of a bug, which is also sometimes features, or is a security loopholes or anything like that, right? Which always exist. How do you see that kind of evolving as well? Are we going to hand over these personalized agents to hyperscaler out there to take care of our data details and everything? Because ultimately, what we are saying here is like dedicated LLM which is trained around you, right? Which knows about you. It's a personalized, dedicated LLM which has everything, all the textbook, all the embedding, all the systems which you have done so far. You are just teaching him about you, and it is learning about you slowly. But after learning, it has to store it somewhere. That's one thing. And if there is a storage happening, there is always going to be certain kind of leakage or certain kind of security loopholes which are also going to be introduced along with it. I know, I don't know, like, if you highly agree or disagree on this point, because I disagree on this point that there's no software in the world which is security proof. Okay. Like,
Agreed.
there's no, it's my opinion, because I have not seen any software which don't have a security loopholes. Either they must be having not externally, but they might be having internally. Okay, but they will have some kind of security loopholes. And recently, some of the biggest exchanges also had some security loopholes, not externally but internally.
Yep.
Um, so, would love to take your viewpoint on this particular portion of it. When we think about this, how do you see the security angle of it?
Yeah. Okay, so to get there, there's a story. Have you ever heard of the biodome that got built in Arizona in the 80s in the US?
No.
Okay, so they built this big glass dome, and they said, "We want to study how like nature works, and so we're gonna cut all these like we're gonna plant plants, we're gonna have artificial rain, and but the outside is not going to be able to affect it all." And one of the things that happened because of that is these trees that started to grow up never got wind on them, right? So the wind never challenged them, and the trees just fell over at a certain age because that wind that was pushing on their leaves was the feedback that made their roots grow strong and gave them resiliency so they don't fall over. And so that process of going from a seed to a full tree, if you're not tested, if there's not something that's actively pushing to sit, so that you have to push back, you can't actually become strong. And so with these AI agents, a lot of this stuff is happening behind the firewalls of these huge companies, and because of that, they have less resiliency because they're depending on the wall, the firewall, and all the security to keep themselves safe. Whereas out in the Web3 world, we're building agents that use the blockchain, and they're being attacked by 1,000 motherfuckers every day that want to steal all the money, right?
Yeah.
from all different accounts. They want to steal the money by convincing you that they're going to do something awesome and then rugging. They might try to convince you to give them a key of some sort, convince you to install software. And every time one of those things happens, it's like the human body getting pain and being like, oh, ouch, I got to do something about this. And so you see Web3 technology continuing to get better and better without there being a big brother that's safeguarding us, right? So like you can trust Google to not really, like, Google hasn't like leaked your data yet because they've got the best security in the world, right? But also when you're depending on Google, good luck being on your own after that, because you're basically like their farm animal. In Web3, I think that's why Web3 agents already are showing a lot of advantage over Web2 agents, is because they grew up in that competitive environment. And I think it's just going to get even crazier once we put them in the hands of 10 million people. Because right now, there's maybe like 5,000 of us in the world that are building
Yeah.
these right now, you know, and right now I can tell you, like, I think we've had, somewhere between 10 and 20,000 of thinkAGENTS have already been purchased. And so we're at the spot now where there's going to be 20,000 people who actually can like use these things in whatever way they want to, right? And we're going to see, we'll for sure see some people do stuff that gets them in trouble, right? Like they're going to put their key for their agent out there or something like that. They're going to do something stupid, and their agent's going to get
Sh-
taken over. And then the community is going to have to respond to that, and the thing's going to evolve.
Shout out to Sui for adding to our learning book, because that's how you learn and grow. So thanks for helping us understand what pain means. So
You know what? Just to add on that, Mike, what you just spoke, I just wrote about that. I think when we started bootstrapping our node infrastructure, so people thought that we are crazy. We are allowing people to just come into the network and register in a smart contract and like let people farm as much token as possible. But you know what? What I wrote after a couple of days from there, I wrote one thing: is it is amazing to see that we are not spending hundreds and thousands of dollars hiring QA engineers to test and give us a security vulnerabilities, or even security auditors to give us the security vulnerabilities. What is really happening is these guys coming in and they are finding the loopholes, and we are putting those loopholes back so that it doesn't again opens up. And it's a race where we all are running together, and we run so much farther that that race becomes so much expensive that they will lose the hope of like even running as well. And that's when the security wins. That's what the end of the secure systems out there in the world is. You make it so the reason Bitcoin shines today, because mining Bitcoin and doing all of those stuff around it, it's crazy expensive. You cannot just hack the Bitcoin network. It's expensive. And the only way you can achieve the security at scale in two ways. One, you just keep creating that feedback loop, what you have just mentioned that I never read about that story. I should have done it earlier. But that's one thing where you allow people to go and exploit your system. But again, that exploit should be like containable. Like you should be able to contain it at a certain point of time. Second is, and then what we have done, and in our phase 2 and phase 3 at Spheron, is like the people who farm, they suddenly saw like their wallet were like removed, or their node was no longer was existent, and the phase 2 was launched. In the phase 2, the same people came in, but they did not able to mine, like they were not able to replicate the same thing. The same thing happened in the mainnet with us. I think I love this entire industry is because we as a team are saving our huge capital, and we should appreciate all of these guys who are doing it. I really love them personally, because if they are not here, then some normal guy would have just came to the industry and rug pull everyone, right? Just by giving some fishy links or doing all of the stuff. The best part is that these guys are making us more resilient, and they're also informing us to educate your own users in a right way. And I don't see the same hacks which were happening in 2021 and 2022 happening in 2025. So we have, as an industry, we have grown massively in terms of security, like breach, like events. Like we have not seen so much of a security breaches in terms of what we have been used to seeing earlier. So yeah, thank you so much, Mikey, for for again telling that story. I think I'm just gonna
And
reach that
shout out to scammers as well. You are an
Yeah, shout out.
extended part of our QA team. So you just don't know it
Keep
yet.
doing that.
But
Have you seen some of these AI agents that are security analysts now? Have you
Yes.
seen
no.
like Octane, for example? Okay,
Oh, so
so
there's one team I want to shout out to them also. Is like we work with them. It's called Quill Audit, Quill AI team. So they are working on this AI agent. By the way, we have to Prakash bring these guys also like on the stream. But yeah,
Yeah.
Mikey, you can go ahead.
yeah, I mean, it's so cool because it's almost like having an immune system, right? Like a vaccine for an immune system is basically like showing a vulnerability so that your white blood cells, like it's like saying like,
Yeah.
hey, this is the bad guy, right? And then the white blood cells are like, oh, I've seen that bad guy, I'm gonna go kill it. What these AI agents do is they've seen everybody's code, they've seen all the bad, all the good, and so when you bring them into your site, it's almost like having every vaccine possible that goes in. It scans for every security loophole that's happened before, and each new one makes it improve. And so we're actually even getting an immune system of agents, which is an interesting thing to think about. I think your personal agent is going to end up being like your external immune system that's outside of your body. And like I've got a cousin that's in the military. And I remember over the last 10 years or whatever, I've heard him talking about drones, and like he works in kind of the drone world. And like the first time that he was ever talking about having like, thousands of drones being around him, and like that emotional feeling of being small with like 1,000 death bots around you, it's like that's a very visual way of seeing what's happening in a digital space, because already like there's thousands of bots that are watching your Twitter, that are watching your emails, they're trying to find the vulnerabilities, right? They're scanning everything that gets put up to GitHub for a key. Like there's just so many different ways where there are bots that are looking to take advantage of our weaknesses right now. And our personal agents, I believe, are going to start getting these tools like the smart contract auditing systems that are there to be able to look out for us, because like there's no way even the smartest of us aren't smart enough to be able to think about all of the different variables that are changing all the time.
True. And again, when you were telling again, I think today I'm just gonna like I should open a design page and I should just keep on designing the stuff because it's just giving me a lot of dopamine to go ahead and design it again. So I was again designing it a different thing.
Nice.
What again, don't go with that design. So this design only I can understand what I designed there. So
His writing's the worst.
The funny thing though is what you just drew there. We just recorded a podcast before this for our new app, and I don't have the most current version on my machine yet. But John drew something like what you have there with his own handwriting, and then he told the agent. He drew a picture of like a guy, and he said, "Draw a wife for the guy," and it drew a wife. Like the agent on his own machine without talking to a different server, drew the wife next to it, added the kids, and then took his handwriting and started using it. And so we're
Nice.
already at a spot where those drawings that you have right now, you could
Amazing.
collaborate with an agent.
Yeah, so
I think
that's what we need. That's what I need is because my mind just goes into very very different state of mind. Sometimes I just only can put it forward. I can't even put it into the words because words becomes too much to put. So I just have to draw because
Yep.
drawing is only the way where you can compress your words and put it in a very right way and let people also understand what exactly it means.
I mean, my
Okay.
notebooks are just full of all
Yeah.
kinds of drawings.
You are
Yep.
you are the good drawer. Like you are a painter. I'm I am a very very bad painter. I just draw it for like it's a circle, small lines, all of those stuff. I don't know like how I'll show you sometimes how I basically think.
Nice.
But the thing which I have the thing which I drawn now, it was very simple thing. Just imagine what you just told. You connect the entire security stuff to your staging environment. Staging is like before production for everyone who don't know.
Yep.
Staging environment, and in that staging environment, your security agent comes into the picture. It tests everything out, and then you have one more agent, which is your developer agent, which is connected to your security agents. It finds the vulnerability, feedback looped into the developer agent. Developer agent goes back, pushes the entire code back to the development, codes it again, retest everything, pass all the test pipeline, push it back again into the staging, and keep doing it until that staging becomes security. Like it has certain level of security achieved. And then in that way, you just build the entire robust system, which I don't think like humans are going to be easily able to penetrate. But yeah, that's what I kind of draw there.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, and that's why it's so important that somebody hold the keys to their agent.
Yeah.
I mean, just at the end of the day, the only hope, like, there's no amount of Sam Altman giving us an orb and scanning our eyeball that's going to keep us safe, right? That just gives Sam
I'm
power.
not going to do that. Honestly speaking, I'm not going to do that. I'm very afraid
No.
of any of these things. It
I
doesn't matter.
I mean
It
the
doesn't matter if they are
audacity.
using. I think that's fine. Their token is pumping. It's good. It's lot very very good for entire industry as such. But I just don't want to give out something which is very natural to me, to anyone to look into. And just imagine in your body there are only few parts of yours which has very unique fingerprints, and eye is among them. And I think eye is the unique as a human being as well. Like as far as I have studied so far, is like eyes can't like my eyes cannot be matched with one else into the entire world. I think that's so. Just imagine what you are giving it out
Every
to.
sci-fi movie we have watched, it's something around the eyes. Like the eyes are
Yeah.
the doorway to so much shit. But yeah,
Doorways to your brain.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you think about it, right, like what gives a government power, right? You've got a government number probably, which is how you pay taxes,
Yeah.
don't go to jail, that sort of thing. And then it's required for your bank account, so it's how you buy and sell things. It's how you get property that you can live in, right? Like you think about all the things we need to have: food, shelter, and security. Uh, we're kind of in a spot where Sam is saying, I'm going to build the replacement of that. He's basically
Yeah.
saying my tools are so powerful that governments are going to be at my will. They can't even keep you safe. Uncle Sam's going to keep you safe. And so he's gone around the world and he's already scanned 12 to 14 million eyeballs, I think.
Yeah.
And he's basically creating like a shitcoin casino for them. Have you seen how they have like Pump.Fun and WorldCoin and like,
Yeah.
have you seen this?
Yeah. So that's what I
Yeah.
that is what I was mentioning, is like what they're trying to do is really insane. But if you want to just highlight that some points of it, would like please go ahead.
Yeah, and at some point in time, whether or not Sam's a bad guy, right? Like I can't speak to Sam, I can't speak to Elon, like I have no idea. There will eventually be a bad guy that controls those keys. And if there's anything
yeah.
we've learned in world history, it's that the individual matters. And when we give rights to the individual and let things grow from the bottom up, as opposed to be controlled by the tops down, that's when we actually see innovation happen. That's when we see the humanities grow and people be able to be their best selves.
Yeah. And one thing which I always tell people is like a business entity is a business entity. Its job is to extract the value. Its job is never to protect you when anything happens to you. Its job
Even
will
when you
always
work at the
to.
company,
Yeah,
even when
that's
you're
what
the
I'm saying.
CEO of the company.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's so because that's what I have learned in a very hard way. As like when I started building, I realized that being a CEO doesn't matter. You are not gonna get protected by companies. Lawyers work for companies; they don't work for CEOs, right? And then if you get sued for if you anything happens to you, you have to hire your own lawyer. I said like what? And that's what I was like amazed to like hear that like okay, so this company in reality is an entity. And that day, kind of like I realized one thing is that just imagine what we are doing to ourselves, what we are going to do. There is a very good ad which has been recently been I saw that there was a mom and dad, they were watching a movie, and then one of their kid video came into that movie showcasing that mom, this is me, and you are sharing my videos
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the social
Whoa,
media.
that was
Oh man, fuck. I was you know what? I don't share my kid pictures anywhere. I don't even go and post on Twitter. I don't even do any of those things. Even in my in my Instagram, it's so private that only few people have access of it. I know I might sound like very crazy guy here, is like who is not putting the things forward, because I want to give my child his own identity. I don't want his identity to be stolen by some random ass in the world, because there are a lot of random asses out there roaming around in the streets, and I don't want them to just fuck around with my kid, right? So that's one thing which really shook me off. And after that, I just never, like, since he was born, I have not posted. His videos are always with me. pictures are always now we are working towards to like make our own storage so that I can store everything of his on my own storage, not on Google Drive or in any other places, even though they claim to have a private and all this stuff. So it's insane. The world which we are going to see is crazy bad. Few days back, one guy has reported that they have got an phone call with the same facial expression, everything like that. It was mimicked as an AI. People have started creating your face and then replicating you as an AI bot and putting on a server and showing it to your parents. Just imagine what would happen to your parents when they get a call at around 4 a.m. stating that something has happened to your kid and this is me, and they show you some picture which is so similar to you. Fuck, it's crazy. Like
I
the
think
world
we
is
should
it's a-
have
it's a
like
good idea.
physical
It's a
key
good
value
idea that-
pairs.
No, but you're right. You should have a family password that
Yeah.
rotates from time to time or has a rule of some sort, so that like my mom gave me a password because like I was a little kid in the 80s and 90s, right? And my parents were both startup people. My dad worked for Apple and my mom was a fashion designer. And so we lived in both Seattle and San Francisco. And I was always with like random adults, right? And so I always had a password that I knew that my mom had approved if another adult told me that word. But like we actually all need to have that with our families right now, especially with aging parents, because like I've for example had somebody impersonate a police officer. And they actually looked up and they knew that I had been called for jury duty, and they knew that I had challenged and said, I'm a startup founder. If you take me out of this for a week, 20 people might lose their jobs. They were able, like the scammers were able to see that, and they called me as if they were a police officer. And like,
insane.
I'm pretty sophisticated, and I went along with it for about 45 minutes until I like started being like, wait a second, like something's going on here. But for a full 45 minutes of them having me convinced that I was in trouble.
Damn.
Insane. See, we have a live story, one of yours, right, with you, and yeah, password nowadays is gonna be, and those passwords should not be shared over email, guys.
Never. Or text of any kind. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's amazing. The best tech people I know are saying on a stream that you should not put things on tech. So guys, we have only one way, stone, and you have to wield it on stone.
Well, think about it like this, right? Okay, let's say that the three of us are on this call, and our audio from our office right now is being shared. And I don't know if you guys are at the same office, but like let's say that you're at your machine and you typed in a password because you needed to log into something to show us. Well, there are models that can take that audio and they can hear the keystrokes and they can guess the password with like a high degree of accuracy. And so like people call this metadata, right? It might just be background noise, but that background noise, AI agents can find meaning in that. And we got to understand that like even owning your keys, like making the sound of your password is insecure. Yeah.
Insane. So that's what I'm saying is it's like the world is gonna be very different, and we have to think before we think about using anything else. So
Yeah.
you should think and and go.
This
and
has
use
been an
things.
eye-opening stream, honestly. Like I came for some Friday night fun, but now I am paranoid as.
Can we jump into a
insane.
conspiracy theory before the end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
So you brought up how corporations don't care about you.
Yeah.
Do you know? Okay. So first of all, have you ever heard what the word corporation means?
Yeah, I did type and understood from our legal team, but
So
but
the
I
term
know
corporation is a Latin word, which like the Romans used, the Vatican used, whatever. But that Latin word means embodiment, right? It's an embodied entity. It's essentially an embodied spirit that's being created. And so the way these things first came about was the King of Spain and Portugal. Those guys, they used to run the world's naval fleets, right? Like they were the most powerful navy in the world. They made they went in and started making colonies in South America. Well, the kings decided that they didn't need to pay the bankers interest. Spain got in a situation kind of like the United States is in now, where their debt was just growing, and so the king said, "I'm not paying you," and the bankers said, "All right." And they moved shop. They moved shops to where would that be? The Dutch, right? To Holland. and they set up this idea of a corporation. They're like, okay, we're going to we can go there and they will let us create a new legal thing called a corporation. And that corporation, instead of being a king, it will allow all kind of the like rich lords that kept the king in power to own shares. And that one idea, like, and I'm saying this with like compassion to you guys, took over the continent of India with one floor of business guys in London, right? Like they took over the entire continent and they ruled it as almost like as bad as kings, right? But they did it without even having to use any violence themselves at the beginning, right? Like they
Yeah.
literally just used an algorithm to be able to take over the biggest country in the world.
Yeah.
And when people talk about colonization or imperialism, really what they're talking about is corporations becoming the most fit species on Earth, right? Corporations became more fit than individual people. They gave the ability to organize entire nations, and it took over the entire world. And it used a group of people, right? Like when people are like, it basically used people to take over power, and it's not going to stop. We've had AI for almost 300 years now. And that AI is what all of our lives are. It created the legal system. It created the financial system. It created free market democracies. And in a way, it also has taken over even like the authoritarian regimes or the far left or far right regimes. The corporations actually run it all.
Fuck. How many bottles I'm gonna
Damn.
be like, I'm gonna be down today.
Damn, this is some next level.
The fuck. I'm
Right? Isn't that? But if you think about it, isn't that what the world looks
Oh,
like?
but so that, you know what? My mind is like, it's spinning now a little bit.
It's how we have
just,
orchestrated this for
it,
so
it
many
just,
years, and
yeah, if somebody just sit back, relax in some kind of a good like position, you go and figure it out what really happened. This is what really happened. This is what we are doing today also. We are already getting ourselves in the same era which we came out of, and it's gonna repeat it again. The
Yep.
whole it's so there is I forgot that this, like I forgot there's a parasite, right?
Mm.
So it's kind of a parasite. You cannot just like rid it off. You can hold it, but the moment you make that bottle open again, it is just gonna absorb everything in it. So be aware of that. And again, I'm saying that I think we should hear this stream back after 10 years down the line. And I bet
yeah,
many of us or many people in the world might have seen this, or if you are hearing this out, first thing first, as a family, set your passwords. That's only the way you are gonna save yourself from AI kind of parasites. Legal parasites are fine, we will be able to tackle them in certain ways. But second thing, don't give your data out to any random Tom, Dick, and Harry into the market. That's the craziest thing. If you have a kid, don't upload just for fun, even just to farm your views. Don't do that. What you are doing is, anyways, we are already farmed, so nobody can like farm us more than what we have already given to the world.
Sundar,
But
Sam, and Mark has
but
I
already
actually
done
think
that.
I completely agree on the password thing. I actually don't think the best strategy, though. I mean, like, be careful with your kids. Always be careful with your kids because they
yeah,
can't defend themselves. But at least for me personally, there was a lot of time where I was like, getting into this world, like, especially when AI was being regulated in the United States. I was getting into a world in which I might be at odds with the regulators, right? Because they wanted to make essentially AI be only legal if you have like the license and you have the permission. And so I actually think that a strategy now is literally just to be fully yourself in the open,
yeah,
right? Like if you look at famous politicians, if you look at, you're like, how the hell do they get away with that? And it's like, well, because they just be themselves. They don't try to pretend like they work for global HR and they just be themselves. And when you act as yourself, it's like, well, you can get mad at me for being myself, but I'm always going to be that. So it actually makes you more safe.
yeah, true. And yeah, people can't just fake it. Because there's some loopholes along with the password for sure, because that's something which is very important. But thank you, man. I think loved a lot of things to quote from here. And a lot of things to kind of come back to this stream again after 10 years to see is like how many of these things have been proclaimed, how many people got rug pulled, how many people got scammed or anything like that just by
God, I got rug
reporting.
pulled yesterday, man, by somebody that was
What?
shipping. They were shipping. It was a project. It was one of the meme coins, but they were just shipping every day. And I was watching them, and I was like, "Oh, this engineer's killing it." And even though he was
Report
shipping and
him?
had something that was good, he left. And I was like, "Whoa!" Like, I don't do a lot of speculative things. I saw something where I was like, "Oh, there's magic happening here," and the person
Yeah.
still gave up magic for a little bit of money, and I'm just like, "Oh, you idiot!"
Okay, so while we are on a stream, I'll tell you one story of mine which I'll never share openly. Okay. During 2022 and 2023, I was at a position. I had a good amount of money. I would have retired quite easily, done some serious thing. I would have executed those things, pulled it off because it was the right time to do all of those stuff. I and my co-founder, we sat together, we discussed these things, and you know what what we said to each other. No matter what happens, no matter, even if we are having $100,000, even 10,000, even $100 in our pocket, we will never pull off anything which is a pure scam. What we will do, we will put our 100% effort, we'll put our career on front line, we will go build whatever we can, and we will keep pushing till the time we get exhausted, we get tired, or we just want to have a safe exit without having any kind of splashes on us, where we just don't want to face ourselves because we want to go and see the mirror back. I don't
Yeah,
want to go and tell my kid that I got rich because I rugged pull a lot of people just because of this amount of money. Or I just don't want to go to my kid tomorrow or my family and say that, okay, I'm just doing this business because I have money. The reason because I just rug pull these people. And that's
it's the
when
worst.
that's when it was a tough pill, honestly. But Mikey, I'm very honest on this. A lot of people can't do it. Like I personally spent my 5 years into this industry, and here we are. Like whatever we have built, and the best part about that, we built a network over there, which people don't realize that. But the worst part is that a lot of time when you look back, you always question yourself. God, people attention is so low in Web3 then if you even do it, you go back and become a shadow founder. So,
A shadow farmer.
shadow founder.
A shadow founder. You haven't heard
Oh,
the whole
Oh,
thing.
you don't know the story. Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure I can assume like it's been really interesting to get to like learn this industry, right? Like, because I'm actually here because I understand AI and business really well, and I understand also why blockchain is like critical for agent coordination, right? Like, without the blockchain, the ability to coordinate agents becomes really challenging. It becomes like it becomes an actual bottleneck for how you would actually like manage and keep a record of truth of these things. And so like part of the reason I'm in this or the biggest part of the reason I'm in this space is because we actually need this for freedom and for these agents to be the best they can. I'm just blown away by how selfish people are and how short-sighted they are. Because it's like if you took that intelligence and you like the intelligence it takes to scam people might even be more than it is to actually just build a good business.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But they just
true.
do it, these short scams, and then they lose everything. And like, boy, that's sad.
Yeah. I think that's how the world is. Like people are very short-sighted. And that's how it has to be, like it has to be worked upon. That's the reason we have certain levels into our systems. But yeah, man, I think loved this entire stream.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So good to talk.
One of the best streams. Like this is one of the feel good streams you have. Very rarely, like it's sometimes all around like business. Yeah, somebody's saying, yeah. We get what you're building, but this is more of like the foundation of it. And honestly, the best people I can like look onto and look around, and any builder who is watching this, this is for you. Like foundationally, if you get started, and this is who you want to be. Actually, like Prashant and Mike throughout the years and actually build for good. And
We
thank you
should
so
do one
much,
of these
guys.
after Souls launches. Let's do one of these after Souls launches, and let's build something
Yeah.
where we use Souls and we use Spheron, and
Yeah.
we actually like show it live on screen.
Let's do it.
For sure.
I'm all in.
Sweet. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mike, for being here. Thank you so much, Prashant, for being here. Anybody who's watching this, please go follow Spheron, follow thinkAGENTS. And if you haven't been into tg.spheron.network till yet, it is still time. Go to tg.spheron.network and start with the missions. We are already live and we are doing a lot of stuff. And we are always having great partners around us. So thank you for having us. Have a good week.